From Clarity Coffee, Dave Moore's alongside Ben Felder's primary election day in Oklahoma. We've been out talking with various residents who have hit the polls or not hit the polls today as the primary election season moves us towards the November general election. And Ben, you've spoken with a lot of people earlier this morning at Elemental Coffee and then here at Clarity Coffee. What are you hearing?
Yeah, just coming into a coffee shop, kind of a living room atmosphere, trying to talk to some people. As you said, some people I talked to didn't even know there was an election going on. Others had that I voted sticker and said that they took the election very seriously.
Do you think that engagement is translated down to the local level yet? Or
I'm not sure. I spoke with somebody who's actually volunteering at a polling place today, and he said that it's been pretty slow. So hopefully it'll pick up after work and we'll get more people coming out to vote. I don't see people getting as interested, especially people my age, with things going on in the local level. Now with this last year, again, with the budget shortfall and all the cuts that were made, I think you saw a lot more engagement. People got real worked up about cuts to education. We definitely have crumbling infrastructure in terms of our roads and things like that. So those things have the potential to get people out to vote. We'll see if it does today in the primary. I think it definitely will in the general election moving forward.
Basically, my wife and I have a few issues that are super important to us, like public education and some areas that kind of affect our community, where it's kind of more easy to be disheartened at both our ability to affect change or the general kind of direction of things on a national level. We are kind of strengthened in our resolve to let's actually kind of sort through some issues and kind of be effectual at our local level. So in deciding the primaries, it's a little tough because it's kind of hard to determine sometimes the difference between candidates.
This has been a tough legislative session. Budget cuts that have hit agencies like education, healthcare, and so some people said that this was a year that they wanted to see some change. We talked to one person who said, if there's going to be any kind of widespread change at the legislature level, this seems like the year to do it. Not only did you have a rough session, we saw a record number of challengers file to run this year, 28 incumbents that are facing a contested primary within their own party. That's more than double what we saw in the last couple election cycles.
if I asked you what was the theme to this year's primary races, what do you think are important?
It's a crazy year. I think people looked at sort of this last legislative session and they said, well, the current representatives may not be representing me in the best way possible. Why can't I jump in? Why can't I try my hand at legislating? And so I think you have a lot of first timers who are throwing their hat in the ring, seeing if maybe they can win their primary and move on to the general election. And so you just had a lot of new candidates. Lots of people filed and lots of people stuck it out until the primary day today. And so it'll be interesting to see, what incumbents get upset, who makes it through those primaries and onto the general. I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Now, the flip side of that is it's really hard to beat an incumbent. Incumbents have name recognition, they have money. Only one of the last 30 incumbents to face a challenger ended up losing. But like we said, this year seems like if it's going to happen, this may be the year where we see some of that change.
Public education, as far as funding and programs, looking at people who have historically or spoken about, for us in particular, extracurricular programs, and then an emphasis on resources for specifically elementary and secondary education are things that are really big and important to us.
You look at the huge budget shortfall, which isn't necessarily the legislators' fault, but maybe some things they did contributed, and newcomers could capitalize off of that. So in my particular district, the incumbent actually was term limited, so we'll definitely get a new representative there. But I think there's a lot of districts where you could be surprised by who makes it out of the primary today and then on to the general.
And yet, you spoke with people who didn't realize that the polls were open today.
Yes, and low voter turnout is kind of a theme in America, in Oklahoma, almost wherever you are. And it's a primary election. I talk to people who work with candidates who work in elections, and they say, hey, the people that vote today are your dedicated voters. These are people that read the newspaper every day, they follow the issues, they know what's going on.
I think there's two things at play, really. A lot of people are unhappy with the way things are going currently in Washington. And then also there's a huge block of uneducated voters, especially people my age. They just don't know about the issues. So maybe you're angry about something like immigration, and so you side more with Trump, or you have this huge student loan debt, and so maybe somebody like Bernie Sanders is really attracted to you. But if you're not educated on the real heart of the issues, whether it's the economics behind it or other things at play, you may be misled in who you're ultimately supporting. And I see that a lot on my college campus.
And it makes some sense because, what's going to be decided today, for the most part, is going to be who's going to be on the November ballot. Now, some races will decide the ultimate winner because there's only, there's not an opponent in the other political party. Maybe it's just Republicans winning or running, so whoever wins today will be be the ultimate winner. But this is where people really kind of shape the November ballot. You're not really deciding who that ultimate winner will be. So sometimes they're not as flashy races, and it's inter-party struggles. Some people, sometimes don't even know that they can't vote for the other party. They hear about a candidate, they see the signs, they go to the polls, and they realize that, hey, they're registered as an independent. They can't vote for the Republican. This year they do have the option to vote in the Democratic primary, but maybe vice versa. Maybe you're a Republican that lives in a Democratic district. You're kind of out of luck if there's no Republican candidate running.
One thing is for sure, good coffee can be found in Oklahoma City.
The election season at large, probably, and this is just like from the people that I engage, I feel like people are super engaged because I work in a coffee shop. And this is where a lot of those conversations with people that have differing ideas, people that have the same ideas, they get together here and they like kind of work through those things together, which is really fun to be able to view all that. But I have like such a small sample size of the kind of heated or kind of engaging conversations that I get to see, So I don't know at large, but from my perspective, it feels like, oh yeah, everybody's engaged. This is awesome. Everybody's like out there. Everybody's wearing their stickers. And, yeah.